Okay, we are recording and we are live on YouTube.
Let's just give Ken a minute to see if he gets on.
Okay.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Public Safety meeting for the year 2021 budget. We have members of our Public Safety Committee meeting here, or committee, and we also would like to welcome the mayor. I believe the comptroller's here, the chief of the fire department, Eric McMahon, and the chief of Troy Police, Brian Owens, and our deputy mayor. And I think that's it. And I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Council President, since you have the flag, would you like to say the pledge?
I'd love to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll do a quick roll call. Councilmember Gully,
Here.
Councilmember Ash McPherson,
Here.
Councilmember Steele,
Present.
Councilmember Zaluski,
Here.
the chair, Councilmember McDermott is here, and we have Council President ex officio Mantello.
Here, thank you.
And we also have Anasha Cummings.
Howdy.
I'd like to ask Chief Mann is sitting in the hot seat. Would you like to start an overview of your budget, which if you're looking in your budget book from home, it is on page 105.
Here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just
It's off mute.
checking with Mara that no one from the public wants to speak, right? Mara,
Mara,
Yeah, no one has registered for the meeting.
thank you.
thank you.
But before we start, can I just remind anyone who's called in on their phone, make sure that the speaker on their computer is turned off. Thank you.
Chief, would you like to start?
Yeah, this budget represents, basically a bare bones budget just to maintain operations in the fire department. It represents a realistic view of our needs. It has, no bells, no whistles, no extravagance into the budget. It is as bare bones as we could pare it down. So if you have any questions, please feel free.
Chair, I'll let you go. I do have some questions, but if you want to go first, obviously.
Okay, I'd like to open it up to the committee members first, but I have a few questions. Can you give us an update on the improvements to the firehouse that were in the 2020 budget?
Right now, the improvements that were in the 2020 budget, that was for a kitchen for station number 4. We're having some difficulty getting contractors to actually bid on that project. The Assistant Chief Dave Paul has reached out to several contractors to have them come in. At this time, we have 2 bids, I believe. And both of those bids are, you know, they represent, you know, just bare bones, nuts and bolts to get the kitchen back up and running. Because the price of the repair is such, it's going to require at least 3 bids, and depending on where this third bid goes, it may need to become a sealed bid project. So, although we've been reaching out for the better part of 8 months looking for contractors to come in, we're having difficulty. We also have an issue with, not an issue, there is, in January of 2020, we were getting at Station 1, we were getting some architectural services done to move forward with the demolition of Station 1 and the replacement of Station 1. Unfortunately, I hate to blame that on COVID as well, but, you know, there was an issue with COVID. Following the issue with COVID, the Corporation Council was changed. After the Corporation Council was changed, there was some questions back and forth on the contract language between the architect and the city and what certain phrases meant. So we have a contract drawn up, but that has yet to be signed. Most of our stations have had new roofs put on them. Most of our stations have had HVAC work done, heating and air conditioning work done. Most of the stations have had an upgrade in lighting. Station 4 and Station 6 are scheduled to get new generators. That work is still in progress. Station 6 also is getting new windows placed in it. The holdup on the new windows for Station 6 is the fact that Station 6 is on the National Historic Registry, and the windows have to fall within a certain type of window. Those windows are just slow in coming. The manufacture and the production of those windows has really slowed everything down. Station 5 has had, that's the central station, has had all new lights put in it, all new HVAC, cooling towers for the air conditioning put in it, and a new roof over the whole entire building. It has what's called a cowl wall system to let in natural daylight. That's all been replaced. And so what the holdup is on Station 5 right now, what we're waiting on is bids to reglaze all of the sunlights that are over our vestibule. That is off the top of my head. I didn't realize I was going to give a station repair report, but off the top of my head, that's everything that's been done. Along those lines, the chiefs, I have a fire chief, Dave Paul, assigned to station maintenance, and he and the UFA go around once a year and do a soup to nuts, top to bottom evaluation of all the stations, and from there we develop, we develop the needs of the stations on top of that. One other thing just popped into my head. The passenger doors or the personnel doors at Station 6 is out to contract at this point, and we're waiting for some language and some insurance documents to exchange hands so that we can replace all the doors at the personnel doors at Station 6. And off the top of my head, that's basically where we're at. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I was just curious if everything was completed from the 2020 budget, and if it does not get completed, does the money roll over into the 2021, or is there money for repairs in 2021?
A lot of the money that we use for station repairs comes from an account that rolls over from year to year.
Accounts in the general fund do not roll, any remaining balance in general fund accounts do not roll over year to year. The only accounts that roll over year to year are in the special grants fund, which is classified as CD, or the capital projects fund, which is classified as H.
Okay, Council President?
Thanks, Chair. I had a couple questions on the ambulance service. I know, Andy, we had an issue with the prior company, and we have the other company back on board, which is a good thing. But if you look on page 9, I know that we estimated for this year 2.1. We're looking at 2.2 next year on page 9. And so I just want to make sure we're on target with that. And do you happen to have a number of our ambulance revenue to date?
If I can get it for you in a few moments. I got to pull something up.
Okay. And then I also noticed, Chief, that our hazmat is down, and it's about $2,500. It's not huge, but I was just curious because I thought that we had contracts for the hazmat.
Which,
Revenue.
oh,
On page 9. If you look under health.
to be honest with you, what we usually, yeah, I'm not exactly.
So the budget, the justification for the budget amount of $5,000 was looking at the revenues from 2016 to 2019 and 2020 to date. In 2016, it was 2,800. In 2018, it was 11,862. In 2019, it was 4,885. The average was 4,889, so it was right-sized down to $5,000.
Okay. And jumping back over to 106, it looks like the overtime going up a little. Is anything attributed to that? You're proposing a 25K jump?
Yeah, so we just hired 7 firefighters. Before those firefighters even hit the street, we're already down 3. I anticipate at least 3 or 4 more firefighters leaving. We are out of firefighter paramedics on our exam at this point. We have asked for a new exam to be placed, and so I am anticipating us having some vacancies for a significant portion of 2021.
Just to piggyback off of that, if you look at the 2020 expenses and forecasting them out over the rest of the year, it's forecasting that overtime will come in right around $820,000, and minimum manning will come in over $300,000.
Right. Yeah, it's just up slightly. I was just curious because obviously, something is attributing to that. In terms of the vehicles, Chief, the 115, which vehicles are you slated to purchase?
So what we are planning on doing with that, we have never done it in the city of Troy before. We are, what we're going to give it a shot is to re-chassis one of our ambulances. And what that means is we have one ambulance that's a frontline ambulance. It has well over 100,000 miles on it. At this point, we start experiencing breakdowns. And so what we're going to do is to take one of our older ambulances that is a backup ambulance at this point, send it down to the manufacturer and have it re-chassied. What that means is they unbolt the ambulance box, pull the chassis out, back a brand new chassis into it, and rebuild it from the floor up. We have heard nightmare stories about rechassing. We have heard absolutely wonderful stories about rechassing. The reason why we're giving this a shot right now is because the manufacturer that we buy our ambulances from has opened up a re-chassis shop. In other words, the manufacturer of our ambulances is actually going to do the re-chassis operation. It is going to be stripped out all the way down to the box with all new wiring, all new lights, all new interior, all new cabinets, everything, so that when we get the ambulance back, it is basically going to be, for all intents and purposes, a brand new ambulance. So we're going to give that a shot. The administration was good enough to give us this money, just so that we don't run into a situation in which our frontline ambulance is down for extended periods of time with breakdowns.
How much is that saving?
Oh, and that is, so that's going to wind up saving in the neighborhood of $70,000 by trying to go down this route. So it's, we're hopeful that it works out.
And I take it, the ambulance on the next page, you have ambulance service materials. They're up about 67K. Is that a piece of that, or is that separate?
So what we did was, what was done historically is we had two line items in the ambulance budget. The ambulance service account bounced back and forth between those two accounts. And so what we did this year was carve everything out of the 303 budget that would normally be for ambulance service materials, and we put it into 303-0019. All of our maintenance for the stretchers, all of our maintenance for the monitors, any repair that has to go along with our cardiac monitors, all of the medications, everything that has to do with operating the EMS service in the city of Troy, we've carved out of different places within the budget, and we're housing them right now in the 0019 budget line item.
Okay. And then just lastly, can you give us an update on the turnout gear, how that's going? And I did notice that uniforms are down substantially. I don't know if that has something to do with it, but if you could give us an update on that, that'd be great.
Every firefighter that we have, a frontline firefighter, right now has 2 sets of brand new turnout gear. If it's not brand new, it is fully within the NFPA standard. The uniform line item has ticked down a bit because we have a pretty good stock of basically brand new turnout gear from guys who are retiring. The 7 new firefighters, we will try to fit them to some turnout gear that we have on the shelf that is basically brand new. And if we can't fit them into some of that gear, what we're going to do at that point is we'll order them new sets of turnout gear.
The cost for the turnout gear that was approved by the council is in Department 9785 installment purchase debt.
I was wondering where that was, Andy. On the list.
And ambulance billing revenue as of 9 months is $1.3 million. It is an increase of 18.59% from the 9-month total of 2019.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. I did want to thank you and the cruise chief. We had a personal situation, and they came to our house a couple of weeks ago, and one of your firefighters actually called to check on my mom, who we had to call 911. So thank you. Your folks were just wonderful. And as always, sometimes you can't put a price on public safety. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for saying that, and, you know, I'll let them know that, you know, I'll let them know.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Thanks, Chair. Sorry, I know I asked a lot of questions.
You're welcome.
Chair.
Councilmember Ash McPherson?
Chief, thank you for being here tonight and giving us some information. We have a total of how many firefighters? Is it 128?
We have a budgeted strength of 120 firefighters. That includes chief officers, 113 uniformed members, and 7 chief officers.
The new hires in the 7, are they included in this budget?
Yeah, they would be included from, you know, from the 2020 budget right on through. We've experienced no reduction.
Okay, and the 7 firefighters, well, let me just back up 1 second. All of our firemen right now are paramedic trained, correct? They're all firefighters, paramedics?
All the new hires are, yes. We have some firefighters that are grandfathered in that are not paramedics. They would be EMTs or certified first responders, but we have very few of them.
Okay, so you also stated that the exam, no, unless I misunderstood, there's no one on the exam for firefighter paramedic?
We have basically exhausted that exam. There were 8 firefighter paramedics or 9 firefighter paramedics on that exam, and we hired all 7 that were able to be hired.
Okay. So do you see a trend of not having a firefighter paramedic any longer?
I'm not clear on your question.
Do you see that changing as far as hiring firefighters in the future that are not paramedics, or?
It's certainly something that can be looked into. However, right now, we had 8 vacancies. We had 9 vacancies, and we had the ability to hire 9 firefighter paramedics. One decided not to take it, and one was not successful in his CPAT attempt. So that's something that certainly can be discussed. But
well, no, I'm just trying to ask: are you going to be putting it out there again? Because I think that's what was in the contract, to have the firefighters and the paramedic cross-trained. So
no, absolutely. My point was that the entrance exam, the firefighter paramedic entrance exam, has been exhausted. So there are no firefighter paramedics left on that entrance exam. We are going to, you know, call for another exam through personnel, and then once that exam gets delivered, you know, we'll make adjustments moving forward.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was clear on what you were saying on that. I thought you were saying that you were going to switch it from not having to be isn't it a requirement to be a paramedic? And I was just wondering if you were going to switch that. That's the way I thought when you said that. I was like, wait a minute, what?
No. If I wasn't clear, I apologize. The only thing that I just wanted to, you know, make clear on is that this current exam that's still valid only has 1 or 2 firefighter paramedics left on it. One decided to pursue a career in the military, and like I said, one was unable to be hired for an unsuccessful CPAT attempt.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me. And I think Council President took over the ambulance for me, my question on that. And I think I'm okay for right now. I'll let somebody else go ahead. Thank you.
Chairperson McDermott.
Are there any other further questions for the fire chief? Councilmember Zaluski?
Thank you. Thanks, Chief. Couple quick questions. A follow-up on line 202 vehicles, the 115,000. That's not just for rechassis The ambulance, right? There's more in that. Is that correct?
No, that's just for rechassing the ambulance. We're gonna send them an old ambulance. We're gonna send them an old ambulance. They're gonna take that old ambulance, take the box, get rid of basically the van front, the chassis, the engine, the transmission, the frame, drive that away, back a new one underneath it, and move forward with, building up a new ambulance using an existing box. That's all that's for.
Okay, how much does a new ambulance itself cost?
$189,000.
Okay, so that's where, when you say we're saving 70K, that's the 70K.
Yes, sir.
Now, the only issue with that is once you re-chassis, the old ambulance that was kind of on backup, we lose that, is that correct? Or is that still a backup?
The ambulance that we're gonna send to them has almost 225,000 miles on it.
Right.
So when they take that ambulance, they will probably scrap it. There's probably no monetary value left in that chassis whatsoever.
Okay, so I just want to be clear though, in that case, then we get a better functioning current ambulance, but right now we have kind of a mediocre ambulance and a really crappy backup ambulance. Now we're just going to have a much better primary, but no backup.
Nope, we have 2 spare ambulances right now. Okay, we're going to take one of those spares. We're going to send one of those spares out to have it re-chassied. We will still have 1 spare and 3 frontline ambulances.
Got it. Okay, good. That's what I was looking for. On the line below that, 203 other equipment, that line looks like it was significantly reduced between 2020 and 2021 from 95K down to 32K.
Correct. What that $32,000 represents is a new kitchen for station number 6, South Troy, Canal Avenue. That's a smaller kitchen, so that's the reason for the $32,000. The $95,000, that represents gear washers that were, once they're purchased, they don't need to be replaced. That was, it was the gear washers and I believe that was the kitchen for station number 3 that was in there as well. And so, the gear washers, the kitchens for station number 3, they don't need to be redone again. And so the only thing that we are looking to do is upgrade the kitchen at station number 6, hence the $32,000.
Okay, got it. Moving down to code 4, line 401-0054 and 0055, the 2 utilities lines. The 2020 budget had zeros for those. I don't know if that's a mistake.
I'm sorry. I was distracted there. Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, just lines, the 2 401 lines. The current budget is showing zeros for those, and now we have them at 65K and 10K, which are more in line with 2019. I'm just wondering why 2020 has zeros for those.
I forgot to budget them in 2020.
Okay, so you didn't forget to put them on the document. They literally were not budgeted.
They were not budgeted in 2020.
Okay.
It was a real cold year. But it is in 2021.
Okay. And those items then are based on, we track utilities, I assume, fairly closely as the year goes on, right?
Correct.
So those are reasonable estimates then on gas and electric.
Yes, they were based off in the 19 and 18 totals.
My final question is on the ambulance. I know we've been running the ambulance service for a while. In fact, I know my previous tenure on the council, we talked about this many times in terms of revenues from the ambulance versus the cost of running the ambulance. Do we have any analysis on, the true cost of running the ambulance in terms of personnel, equipment, and resources, and then, you know, the true revenues that we're getting from the ambulance. Is that, I mean, is that outlined clearly here in the budget, or do we have that somewhere else?
I don't think that that analysis has been done. However, what has to be taken into account is the fact that the UFA has a minimum manning contract. So whether or not they are running an ambulance or doing strictly fire duty, you would need to have 24 firefighters a day in the station. So the decision was made 20 years ago or 25 years ago. As a matter of fact, this is the 25th anniversary of the ambulance service, and it was done for a multitude of reasons. However, it can't be overlooked that without the ambulance service supplementing the fire department's budget, you would have 24 firefighters and no income stream. So I don't know as if a full analysis has been done on the ambulance service. We can certainly do that, but that part of the puzzle certainly cannot be overlooked.
Yeah, I mean, Chief, I'm asking the question only because over the years, this is similar to how when we talk about the golf course, and everyone says, oh, the golf course is a big moneymaker for the city. But I've never seen a definitive analysis on whether the golf course actually makes money for the city, or does it cost more to run it. I'm not trying to make an evaluation as to whether it makes sense to have a golf course or not. We could agree there could be a loser, but still we want a golf course. It's the same thing. The ambulance might lose money for the city, but it's something that we agree as a city that we want to offer ambulance service. I'm just curious to know if an analysis has actually been done to know, does the ambulance service really make, do we profit off the ambulance service, or do we lose money on it?
I would say that you lose money on it. However, the calculations are way beyond my expertise. You have firefighters that split time between a truck company, an aerial apparatus, and an ambulance, so that if a fire comes in, they take the aerial. If an ambulance call comes in, they take the ambulance. I don't know how you would be able to analyze that.
That's tough.
On the same token, you have an engine company up on Boughton Road, in which if a fire comes in, they take the engine. If an ambulance call comes in, they take the ambulance. I don't know how you would be able to figure that out. I don't know how you would be able to calculate that.
I actually just found it. And as part of the 2017 budget preparation, obviously it's dated, but just for reference, we did an analysis for 2014, 2015, and the 9-month total from 2016. In 2014, and just to note this, what Chief is talking about for the minimum manning, the then City Council had requested that even though the minimum manning was there, they requested that the salaries for the employees working on the ambulance be included in the analysis. In 2014, it made money. 2015, it made money. In 2016, it made money at 9 months. And the revenues are significantly higher now than they were then. For reference, it made $56,000 in 2014, and the total revenue was $1.489 million. Now, costs have gone up since 2014. I'm not going to deny that, but it was making money at that time in all 3 of those periods that it was analyzed.
Thank you, Andy. And when you did that analysis, how did you account? What the chief was talking about is actually, he's correct. It is very difficult to analyze cost of personnel when personnel split duties and you're trying to analyze just a single one of those duties. How did you handle that?
I'm just going to read right from the notes on it. It says the UFA contract requires 24 firefighters to staff. 5 of those 24 firefighters drive the ambulance station in Lansingburg and at Boughton Road in addition to their primary duty on the trucks. In addition, 2 of those 24 firefighters are dedicated to the Central Station ambulance. So we accounted for 7 firefighters and took their salaries, if I remember correctly. And then we took 1/12 of salaries, overtime, it's essentially 1/12 of all 100 lines in 800 lines to account for the salaries.
Okay, hey, Andy, is that digital or is that on paper that you're looking at?
It's digital.
If that's something you can make available, I'd appreciate it. That way we don't have to spend more time on it during the meeting.
Okay, I'll send it right now.
Awesome, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it.
Any further questions?
Eric? Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Question.
Councilmember Cummings?
Thank you. Let's see, first question was about Station 1. You mentioned where you continue to work towards the replacement of that station. Are there funds in this budget for that this year? Is it still in engineering phase? It's relatively minimal. So what's the timeline there? And then B, can you just remind me the total service area for Station 1? Where does it come down to? And does it include all the places off Gurley Ave and Oakwood?
All right, so the first part of your question, I was able to understand, so I'll answer that, and then I'll ask you to repeat your second question. There are funds still in this budget for the architectural services. They are in an H account. Like Andy stated, those funds are able to be used year after year, from one year to another year. So yes, there are funds in this budget for those architectural and engineering services in this budget. The second part of your question, I was not able to hear, and I apologize.
Just wanted to confirm the service area for Station 1. It goes all the way to the north end of the city down to which street?
For ambulance service, it comes down to 103rd Street. For Still District, it's 105th. The Engine 1, though, it's, it all depends on if it's an alarm of fire or if it's an EMS call. If it's an EMS call, their district is different than if it's a fire call. For a fire call, Engine 1 and Truck 1 is a citywide piece. We send them on every single alarm of fire. And if it's a fire call, Engine 1 would come all the way down to the downtown on the first alarm. And then if it's a second alarm, it depends on where it would be. They may cover out a Central Station on a second alarm assignment.
Okay. And then all the way up on Oakwood, does it cover all of Oakwood?
Yep. Yes. Yes. Up on, parts of Gurley Avenue, parts of Oakwood Avenue is split between Engine 4 coming from the south and Engine 1 coming from the north.
Okay. And when you were doing, I know there was some analysis done as to the location of that station and the call volume, etc. Was any work taken into account as to potential future development on the northern end of the city and how that would impact that station?
I didn't do that. What we did was a 5-year analysis of all calls out of that station, and that's how we analyze the data. As far as future development goes, that certainly wasn't taken into account on my, that's not anything that I entered into the equation.
Okay. I guess in general, I guess it's a large service area already. At this point, you are able to respond to the northernmost end of the city from that location in a timely manner. It's a straight line, I guess.
I can pull run data from different sections up there. If you provide me with what areas you would like to see the response times to that area, I could certainly plug that into our record management system and pull up a report for you.
Great. I'll follow up with you on that. Second question. Wanted to get some hard numbers on vacancies. How many are there now that you said there are several hired, but also several retirements? So how many vacancies at this moment, and then how many do you expect as of January 1st?
We have one solid vacancy right now. We have 7 recruits in an academy that we're running over in the town of Colony. They're not going to be online until sometime in January. We have 1 solid vacancy that is a person that is no longer with us. We have just had a visit by a captain came into my office, stated that he is leaving in the end of November. We have a firefighter that, for all intents and purposes, you know, we have heard it unofficially that he is transferring to the City of Syracuse Fire Department. We haven't received anything official yet. So sometime in the very near future, in November, we're going to have 3 vacancies before these recruits even get out of the academy. We have at least 10 firefighters that are eligible to retire, and of those, we have at least 4 or 5 that have expressed that they are going to leave shortly after the beginning of the year.
Okay, and what is the timeline for a new exam and training to get some new folks in the door?
You would have to ask personnel about as far as getting a new exam. I know that, I believe that she stated that the next exam that's available is in April. Following that exam, there would have to be background checks. There would have to be, they would have to be paramedics. We would have to give them another CPAT evaluation. So it's an extensive process.
Okay, so is there a process we should look at how to move up, or should we just expect that no new beyond the 7 you're training right now will come on until June?
I would say I don't know how you would move it any quicker unless you figured out a way to incentivize transfers, and I have no idea how that would even work.
Okay. Thank you. I guess I just wanted to close one loop on the ambulance you're repairing. I assume one of the frontline ambulances will be rotated down to a backup ambulance once that new one comes into service. That's correct?
That's correct. Medic 1. This medic rig that's this vehicle that's in this budget for 2021 is slated to take the place of Medic 1 when it comes back to town.
Okay, so we will continue to have 3 and
Of course, absolutely.
Those are my questions for now. I'll let you know if I can.
I believe Council President had a question.
Unless nobody else does, I'll go after anyone else who hasn't spoken, Chair.
Are there any further questions? It's all yours.
Just a quick follow-up, Chief. I was looking at the capital budget, and I did notice we're purchasing or proposing to purchase an ambulance in 2023 for 180. So that will, I take it, rotate to replace not the one that we're recasting, but one of the others, I take it? Or would that replace?
No, that would go to replace either Medic 2 or Medic 4, depending on the condition of those vehicles at that time.
Okay. And Andy, I was a little surprised to follow up on, the Berg Firehouse. I know we did get delayed, but don't you think we should at least, guesstimate on a new firehouse at some point in the capital plan? Or do you just feel not address it at all? I'm talking outer lying years.
I think it would be speculative to do that now. And I also think, doing the tricky part about a 5-year capital plan is looking that far out, even though it's only 5 years. So until the architect gets in and completes that work, then we have a better idea of the scope and the potential cost. At that point is when I feel like it should probably be best to put it into the capital plan itself.
Okay, yeah, maybe next year for the outlining years. And
I kind of look at the capital plan, 21 is approved as part of the budget process, but the other 4 years, while the budget itself is a living document because it's amended and transfers occur throughout the year, it's a much more living document. Not 21, but the 4 years thereafter is a much more living document as part of the capital plan, and moving things in and out when that annual budget itself comes up.
Yep, I get that. And, Chief, on a last note, I was super pleased to see, I hope she stays on board, but we did finally hire a woman on the fire department, so that's great news. And I did see that, so that's great. And I know that you and the mayor and all of us are working very hard to try to attract more minorities to the fire department. And I know a lot went into this last exam, the last two actually. So, is there anything that, that we can do, or, I know you partnered with the clergy, you partnered with Hudson Valley. I mean, are we missing anything? And I just know it's very hard to attract minorities.
It is hard. If anybody has any ideas, my office door is always open.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, sir.
If there's no further questions for the fire chief, then we can move on. Thank you, Chief McMahon, for giving your overview and also for your overview on the firehouses.
Thank you very much. And in closing, just let me say, if you want to schedule a tour to come and take a look at the fire stations, I am not opposed to that. You can come, you can take a look at the stations, get a vision and a look at what the stations actually has, what we have in the stations, and I'm sure that you would have a better idea moving forward, from budget year to budget year. Thank you very much.
Before we start with Chief Owen's overview, Mayor Madden would like to have a moment to speak with us.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, good. All right. Before we get started with the police budget, I just wanted to make a few comments. I'm aware that there have been calls, actually passionate calls this year, to defund the police. And I'm also aware that defunding the police as a concept is more complex than merely reducing the funding we put into our police operations. It's an approach that calls for a redirection of funds from police operations to services and support that can lead to reductions in reliance on what has become traditional law enforcement. It's an appealing concept, and I think it is one that truly deserves our attention. Who wouldn't like to live in a community where people don't need to call the police? But today we don't live in that community. Our police department receives more than 50,000 calls annually. And to reduce our capacity to respond to those calls before there are effective and sufficient alternatives in place would be completely irresponsible on my part. Can we and will we have conversations about addressing the social determinants that lead to crime in our neighborhoods? I fully intend to do that. I welcome that conversation, and it's been part of the body of my life's work. But until we have done that, and until we have tested those theories, I'm going to support a police budget that is responsive to those that call for our services, as well as the police officers who are tasked with a difficult job. The budget before you tonight accurately reflects the cost of providing policing services in Troy in 2021. At this point, I'll turn it over to the police chief to discuss. I seem to have lost my camera. Am I up there? Okay. Here you go.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here tonight. Am I on?
Chief, I'd just like you to start and give an overview. We're starting on, for those of you at home, on page 90 of your budget. And I looked briefly through your budget, and it looks like your increases are in salaries and contractuals, or salaries, and I'm assuming they are civil service and contractual.
Yes, much of our increases are contractual, but there's also increases to a degree in equipment, and that accounts for the body-worn camera program. As a quick overview of our staffing, we're authorized 131 members. Ideally, we'd like to see that number increase. That's probably not realistic in this budget framework. We have 3 chiefs, 8 captains, 27 sergeants, and currently we have 4 vacancies in rank of patrolman. We have 6 recruits in the academy. They are due to graduate in January of next year. After they complete their field training, we're looking at realistically March. Prior to the end of 2020, we anticipate possibly 1, 2, or 3 additional vacancies, and then shortly into the new year, we expect anywhere from 4 to 8 additional vacancies. We are continuing to move forward. We have a fairly new civil service list. We will be conducting the physical agility test this weekend, as a matter of fact. It's a large group. Over 70 people have replied to the canvas, so we'll have 2 groups, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. The Saturday group's going to be very cold. It's scheduled to be pretty cold on Saturday morning, but we are moving forward. As we've talked about at other meetings, the difficulty in staffing is that we're always playing catch up, and I don't know a realistic way to get ahead to keep our staffing at 131 or even to increase that. But we are fully involved in making sure those vacancies get filled as soon as we can. But again, any new hires for the next academy, which is scheduled to begin in February, everything was pushed back a little bit because of COVID. So that February group, realistically, we won't see them sometime until September, October 2021. And that's assuming nobody else leaves during that time period. We have not had very much success with laterals. I don't know if that's just the uncertainty of the times. People don't want to leave where they already are. There has been talk, nothing official. Some of our members looking at lateraling to other departments that are less busy and perhaps have higher salaries. Again, nothing official on that. So I don't know if that's just talk. Our facilities, we do have a new building that's nearing the end of construction. That will be extremely useful for us for evidence processing, storage. That's located in the old impound lot directly behind Central Station. Our Central Station, as we talk about it, is nearly 100 years old. The space is divided up, as you know, with city court. At some point in the future, we have to look capital planning wise to determine how we're going to either bring that up and to meet the current needs or look at another facility. I don't know if that's even possible location wise. In terms of our fleet, we're in fairly good shape. The proposed budget does not reflect any vehicle purchases in next year, either budgetary or capital plan. We feel that we are in a good position based on the last 2 years of purchasing the vehicle lines that we can support a year with no new vehicles. We will have an increase likely in our repair line to accommodate repairs of vehicles as they get older. That's a general overview on the main categories. If you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you.
Do I have any questions?
I do, Chair.
Councilmember Ash McPherson.
Chief, I'm probably going to jump around a little bit, so I apologize if I do. I have a few questions. First thing on the staffing, we have 8 per shift, correct?
So the minimum staffing is 8 patrolmen and 1 sergeant on the road, 1 sergeant on the desk. That's the minimum staffing, correct?
So for each zone, we have 4 zones. We have approximately 2 in each zone.
We have 2 assigned to each zone, yes.
So with a lot that's been going on in our city, in my opinion, I don't feel that's enough officers to maintain in our city to protect our residents from a lot of the violence that we've had going on, as you know. How many in our community policing do we have?
Just straight community policing unit is 2 members. Within Community Services Bureau, we have traffic safety, CPU, the SROs, and SOS. So if you're just talking just straight community policing unit, there's just 2 members assigned to that.
Correct. That's where I'm starting with, just with them right now. I'm not sure if I was given the right information or so forth, but I know our community police, the 2 that we have, they're on day shifts, correct?
Primarily, they are flex assignments, so they do flex for example, neighborhood meetings that might be in the evenings or weekends if there's a weekend scheduled event.
Are those 2 community police officers being used when the complaints for litter are coming in as far as illegal dumping?
They've worked closely with DPU and also code enforcement. That's not to say that every time there's a complaint of illegal dumping that it's handled by CPU. Certainly our patrol officers might handle those calls as well. But in the planned activities, especially for code enforcement, when they're going to make visits to residents or businesses, a lot of times they'll frequently request that community police officer goes with them.
I guess I wasn't clear when I said that. So from my understanding, there's a lot of calls that are coming in during different shifts, I guess, and the police are going to these homes to properties or wherever for illegal dumping. Am I getting that correct? They're going because they have to have the police reports on these?
We do. So yes, it could be handled by community policing if they're available during the hours they're scheduled to work, or it could be the zone car that's assigned to that call.
How much time do you know that our officers are spending doing these calls for the garbage?
It would be hard for me to say exactly how often they're spending on it. I know there are calls for service for illegal dumping. I'm not sure how often that's happening in the course of their weeks or months of their assignments. I believe, and I just from my understanding, there's now litter patrol that should help with some of those calls. I can't speak to how that's assigned, but I'm hopeful that'll take some of that work away. Just on the illegal dumping, that's just one type of call that community police handles as well as patrol, so it's not.
No, I know that. My point that I'm getting to is their officers are spending a lot of time with these illegal dumps, from my understanding, and going in and going through it now and writing, police reports. It's the litter patrol can't do the policing the reports on these. So I'm just trying to figure out how much time our officers are spending on this.
I could try to find out the number of calls. We can start with that, and then we can look at what the time for each call is. Yeah, I don't know that the Litter Patrol has to do an incident report like we do, so I don't know that it needs
They
a police
don't.
report.
The police
But
report.
I'll start with the number of calls that we handle in terms of illegal dumping or littering.
Okay. I know the litter patrol, the police have to be called, from my understanding, is when a taxpayer is saying it wasn't mine, somebody dumped their stuff, they have to have a police report in order to dispute them being charged the fines. So I guess I'm trying to find out is get an idea of how many calls that our police department is getting to have to go for these illegal dumpings. And because the litter patrol can't take the report, and from my understanding, the police have to do the report. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that makes sense. What you're saying, the police are taking an incident report so that the owner, the property owner, is in a sense a victim of the illegal dumping. So that would make sense. Yep.
So it's the difference between a criminal activity and a civil activity. So the litter patrol officers, and Mr. Councilman Gully is smiling because we had this conversation earlier today. So the difference is in a criminal action, you have to file a police report. The litter patrol officers cannot write a criminal action that's not what they're certified to do.
Correct.
So that's why we need the police officers to do that work. For example, the dumping off of Forbes Avenue. Frank Christopher, the litter patrol officer that was the one who discovered that, he took the initial information and he took it to the police department for investigation. That was an action carried by us, and that wasn't necessarily somebody calling in to report any illegal dumps. But yes, we will need to partner with the police department as we do with many code issues, but it is one factor of the community policing unit if they're available for us to be able to do. But that is the difference between a criminal action and a civil action.
No, I understand that. And my point is I'm trying to find out how much time our police are spending on this for the illegal dumping. So thank you. So thank you, Chief, for answering that for me. And the next question I have. Wait, hold on while I get my notes. I'll let somebody else go.
Anyone else have questions?
Chair, I'll
Chair.
ask a couple questions while Councilmember Ash McPherson's looking for notes. I did want to follow up quickly. I agree with the mayor in terms of we need a police department that has the tools and the support and the equipment to carry out their job and keep our neighborhoods safer. And I want to thank the chief and the over 100 officers for continuing to try to do that. So I do agree with you, Mayor, on your initial statement. Moving forward, Andy, maybe you could point out where the body cams are in the budget. I'm thinking maybe it might be in that 303 column, but maybe I'm wrong, the 490 as opposed to the 129 last year. Am I correct or no? And if I'm not correct, what is that?
You are correct.
Okay, very good. Also, the surveillance cameras, I mean, I know it's not totally budget related, but a lot of folks are looking for an update on that, Chief. I know the council obviously awarded the mayor to authorize with the vendor. Are you working hand in hand with the vendor right now? And where is that?
We are. The vendor for the city cameras is Eclipse. They did a lot of preliminary work before we even had the actual award, just to have an understanding, as all the vendors did. They took a look at what our requirements are. So we're ready to move forward. I'll leave it to Andy as far as the purchasing, where that stands in the procurement line.
I believe the contract is either been executed or is close to execution. I know I signed the contract and it is going through the process now of execution.
Okay. If you could keep us posted on that, you know, obviously it's, you know, very important. in addition to so many other efforts in trying to keep our neighborhoods safer. Regarding, also, I did notice up front, Andy, in the revenues, and maybe Chief, you could answer this. I noticed the bail dollar numbers are down, not incredibly, but are down by about 6K. Is that because of bail reform or nothing to do with it? And maybe you could give us just a real clip on what I feel, bail reform certainly is another reason why our neighborhood violence and gun violence has increased. But saying that, if you look on, I think under public safety on page 11, you'll see the fines, or maybe it's on...
It's on 10.
10, sorry, yeah, 10.
So,
Go ahead.
so my thought is on that, yes, we are taking in less bail, so that number should go down. That's the best estimate that we might continue to see bails that are forfeited. The overall discussion about bail reform, I think we've had that in numerous neighborhood meetings and public safety meetings. I think it has been detrimental. I don't know if that's entirely the cause of the increase in violence, but as I said before, I understand the purpose of bail is to require defendant's appearance in court. It's not to be punitive, but as a practical matter, it did at times disrupt the cycle of violence. So where we see these retaliatory shootings, if the person was held on bail and they're in custody, it just allowed for a period of time for maybe decompression between the two opposing parties or opposing groups. And so do I think that bail reform has had a negative effect? I do. I don't know if that's the entire reason for the increase in particular violent crime this year, though.
I agree. It certainly is contributing. But saying that, I did notice the bail fines were down, so I was just curious if that was related. And then I did notice, just jumping back, uniforms, and maybe this is related to the body cams, that they were up about 90K, Chief. Is there something in addition that we have to purchase, or?
A big part of uniforms, we also include protective equipment in there, so body armor is one of the big things. And our body armor is on a 5-year replacement plan, so depending on when somebody's hired or when their replacement vest was issued, it has to be replaced pretty frequently. Additionally, to outfit a new officer is extensive. It's significant for each officer. It's the initial uniforms for the academy, which is a different uniform. It's a generic uniform that all agencies that send people to Zone 5 wear. Then they have their department specific, so in our case, the Troy Police uniform, and again, all the equipment that goes with that. So that's a significant, we expect, like I said, we're going to have potentially 10, 12 new officers next year.
Okay. And then just two very quick last things. I did notice the video clerk, while it was in last year's budget, it was not filled. And obviously this year with surveillance cams and body cams, do you feel that the proposal is to fill this position, which is very important? Do you feel that the two video clerks, are enough? Do you feel we'll need more, or is it we'll have to wait and see?
We absolutely need to fill that second one, even for just a video that we retrieve now from when people are in a cell block or DWIs, things like that, or the street cameras when we pull video to provide for district attorney's office and defense attorneys, and even the corporation counsel if necessary. There's no valid list for that civil service position right now. So we're trying to raise interest and solicit applications for that position. So anything that anybody can do to spread the word on that, I believe it's on the city's website as a vacancy, as an opening. As far as when we move into the body-worn camera program, will 2 video clerks be sufficient? I think it's too early to tell. My thought going in right now is it will be enough to get started. we'll have to see the volume of work that's created by that program. And also, as we replace and repair the existing street cameras, there's also a hope that we can expand those into other locations throughout the city. So that would necessarily increase the amount of work for the video clerks as well. So yes, the plan is absolutely to fill the second one now. And going forward into next year, we'll have to evaluate and see if a third or even maybe a part-time position. We'll have to see what the work demand is created by the camera program.
Sure. And I do know that there's a proposal to fill an assistant over an IT, potentially maybe that can assist. And then just lastly, overall, as you know, I have incredible respect for your officers, for your command officers, Chief. And, I know that they're, stressed both mentally, physically. It's been a super demanding year, COVID on top of so many other things going on, and the violence increase in our city in the capital region. Saying all of that, I know you're working very hard to provide the appropriate training and just morale. And my last question would be, how is the morale in the department? And, certainly the council, at least from myself, and I know a few others, will do everything humanly possible to give you that support, both technical and for the tools that you and your officers need to do the job to keep our neighborhood safer. But how is the morale?
Thank you for expressing your appreciation of our members. Morale right now, it's tough. I mean, people are mentally and physically worn down. There's an emotional toll that's been taken on us for many of the things you've mentioned. The good thing is that we have women and men who are still willing to come in every day and face those challenges. We still fortunately have people willing to apply, to be recruits, and to be brought in to this line of work. I was a little concerned that this year might affect what that hiring process looked like and onboarding new personnel. As I mentioned, we have the physical agility test scheduled for this weekend, and we had 70 people reply to the canvas. I think that's an encouraging sign. I'm hopeful that 2021 does not look like 2020 did in terms of demands on not only law enforcement, but just all of us individually and collectively. So I'm hopeful that we can move forward. We're hanging in there. We're going to show up every day. We're going to respond to calls. We're going to be as helpful as we can be. And again, I thank you for acknowledging the stresses that we're under.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Chief, I have a question regarding your OVW grant. Are you expecting any money to come in for 2021 with that grant?
Yes, the federal grants have been reduced overall collectively. We anticipate receiving some funding which will offset our domestic violence investigator who has worked closely with Unity House. Previously, that funding used to allow for almost the entire salary. Now it's only a very small portion of overtime, a little bit of equipment, like office type equipment, just to maintain the records and files, and then previously some training that was provided by the Office for Prevention of Violence Against Women. So yes, we did not have the award notice and the letter. That'll come in. It'll go to council for approval and acceptance once we have that for you.
And what about the GIVE grant? I know it only runs, 6 months in 1 year, but it doesn't look like there's 6 months in for 2021 unless it's somewhere else in the budget.
So you're right, the GIVE grant follows the state fiscal year, so that award period is July 1st through June 30th. We typically try to break up the expenses for both overtime. There's also some money to fund for the crime analyst position and the field intelligence officer, so we try to split that between years. I'll leave that to Andy to suggest why we split it that way, but it doesn't follow our fiscal year, I can tell you that.
We budget half the grant total. It's subcode 1100. And it's similar to what Chief just said. We'll figure out the remaining balance left on the grant in January or February and bring legislation to the city council to amend the budget.
Okay, but it looks like there's only 1/4 in the grant in the 103-1100.
My office budgeted it off the grant documents that we had received.
Okay,
But again, it will be amended in 2021 based off of how much is left at the end of 2020.
is it somewhere else in the budget?
I can pull my
21
sheet up.
in the paper copy?
We did the budget the other half, because it's not been worded right.
But it's not anywhere else in the budget.
It's in various lines in the budget, so I got to pull the lines.
That's okay, as long as I know that it's in.
We budgeted 50% of $197,026, which was the award for July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. If I remember correctly, there's a salary component to it. So that's within A3120.101 because we don't split out reimbursable permanent salaries for grants. It's in A.3120.103.1100. That is for $27,600, and it is in account A3120.409.1100 for $14,530. It is, let me see what. It's also in A3120.411.1100 for travel for $2,000, and I believe that is that. So it's in permanent salaries, overtime, consultant services, and travel, based off the award documents.
Okay, I think I get it now, because your current budget, the 50,265 in this year, that's including the grant that we accepted in for July through December for overtime. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Chair? Chair?
Councilmember Gully, sorry.
Maybe quick question. 409 and 411 accounts, consultant services and training traveling expenses. Are you combining those? Are you clearing that up? Is that why there's a large amount in the 0106 and the others are negated out and showing zeros?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. So one of the things we try to do on a lot of the lines is consolidate them, get them to where they should be. So that is one of them. So this is, for me, the third budget. So now we're trying to see where we had, for example, a large pool in 303 or other categories. We tried to break them out to more accurately reflect where they're coming out of. So yes, that was part of a cleanup.
All right, great. Thank you.
Chair?
Councilmember Ash McPherson?
Chief, this is just more of comments. In 2016 or 17, I took a tour of the station. And back in 17, the station needs a lot of repair. And when they started doing the above in the courthouse, I thought they were going to be doing some things down below for the amount of money that was being spent, and that didn't happen. 2020, I came in and I did a tour of the firehouses, and I took a tour of the station and the new building across the way. And what I found was the same issues with the station house. But more repair needed to be done as well. The basement, as I walked through, I was walking through water. Some parts of the building look like they're falling apart. What I'd really like to see is that money being put into the station for the staff that has to be in there on a daily basis. And there's a lot of people in there on a daily basis. And I'd like to see something done down in there. The other thing that I was looking at is down in the holding cells. And I don't know if there's a way to work with the county to try to use their cells for holding if possible. I think the ones that we have, I think our building is kind of old and it's starting to show it. So I'd like to see something done with that building, and if the mayor could look into that, and I know everything costs about money, but grants or funding, what we can do to try to fix what's broken over there. The other thing is I'd like to make a comment as far as in the district that I represent, there's been some things, and I'm not going to get into details of it, but there's been some things that have been done in the last month, 2 months or so that really has made a change. And I've had members of the community come up to me and comment on a few things, and we'll talk in person about that. But I'd like to say thank you to the station, to the men and women that are doing what they can in District 2 and throughout the city to help protect our residents. And that's a huge deal. Safety is a big deal, this. And looking at the budget, you can't move money around to try and take it away from everything that's being done that the police are doing with our CPU, with our SROs, with the traffic. There's so many different parts to the budget for our station. And I would just like to say that there's been a lot of stress, as you said, that our officers have been under, and they handle themselves professional. And I've seen that in many tapes that have been on social media. So to our officers, the men and women, I thank them for what they do on a daily basis, because they put their lives on the line every day, and their families and so forth. And there's been a lot of things that have been said to our officers that are really upsetting, as conversations I've had with you and with the mayor. So I just want to say thank you for what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions?
You're on mute.
Council President?
Yeah, if nobody else has any questions, my major final question would be, and I know that the mayor and Andy and folks can't get into any particulars, but I did notice there's no monies in the budget should contract negotiations move forward. Can you at least give the council just, a minute update where we are with police and fire? Obviously, I understand the sensitivity of the particulars. Thank you.
Council President, the TVA contract is out for 2023. And then as far as the UFO goes, we are in negotiations with them. If you'd like to have a law committee meeting and go into executive session, we can certainly have more conversation. But because we are in active negotiations with them, it's not anything that we can make public.
Okay, that's fair. I just wanted an update. I felt, it's certainly our responsibility. I didn't see any monies in the budget regarding fire, so I just thought it'd be appropriate to ask. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have questions? If there's no further questions, I'd like to thank the chief for all you do for the city of Troy and also for your overview of your budget.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Is there any other announcements? Council President?
I just wanted to say thank you.
I have one announcement. Tomorrow at the ICC, the Farm to Family is doing a food drop similar to the one Councilmember Ash McPherson and I attended up in North Central. They are dropping 1,100 boxes in the city of Troy tomorrow, and I think one of them is going to be at Corliss Park and one at the ICC. And it is from 11:30 until all the boxes are gone. I know Team Hero is coming to assist, and also the Lansingburg Boys and Girls Club are going to come over and pick up 100 boxes and deliver those throughout the city. So if anyone would like to stop by, or if you know anyone that needs any food, it's a great event, and I'm sure Councilmember Ash McPherson can speak about it also about Saturday. Any other announcements?
No, I just want to say with the Farmers to Families, the group that is doing this, they put in a lot of effort. They did 1,100 boxes on Saturday up here in Lansingburg. And I know Deputy Mayor has been involved with some of them as well, some of the drops that they're doing. And, you know, I'm wondering if you were looking to get them down into School 12 area for on Saturday. I don't know, but that's another thing to look at. But it's a very good program, and a lot of it's not just for our low-income families, it's for everybody. Anybody and everybody was welcome to come. And it showed on Saturday when anybody and everybody did come and take the boxes. So it was a great thing. So good luck for tomorrow.
Councilmember Ash McPherson, you know, I wanted to have the event at School 12 tomorrow, but it's not a good time during the week to have an event and tie up traffic. It's a major traffic flow in that area, and that's why we decided to move it to the ICC.
Chair?
Councilmember Mantello?
Yep, since we're in public safety, it's also probably good just to talk about the upcoming weekend real quick. Halloween, obviously, is Saturday, and with our new norm, there's guidelines that the state has put out in terms of trick-or-treating and in terms of large gatherings. And, you know, while we all want to see our children enjoy the day, I think all of us, you know, hope that they follow those guidelines. There's 3 major events happening, and folks should take a look online for those. There's the church on 5th Ave that is in the morning down in the Berg. Then there's Knickerbocker has one in the afternoon. Then Troy Central League has one Saturday night. So just take a look. They're on social media, but I would just ask, as I'm sure all of us, that folks just be really, really safe out there, because it does look like another wave seems to be moving forward of the COVID. So be safe.
Anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
We'll see everybody back Thursday night for general services starting at 6 p.m. History shows it's a long night, so prepare yourself.
That's a long one.
I think this is the one we've had in a while.